This is the final minute of a film most people have never seen, but it might be the most perfect ending ever filmed.
Ponder.
What makes this moment even more extraordinary is that it almost never existed. The scene wasn't written as a finale. This was just another scene, until director Claire Denis moved it to the very end in the editing room, and suddenly, everything the film had been holding back snapped into focus. Galoup, the soldier in this shot, had spent the entire film suffocating inside his own discipline, and in these final seconds, he suddenly explodes into movement. Honestly, the first time I saw it, I didn't really know what I was looking at. I just knew something inside me jolted awake. It's strange. The dance is joyful, but it's not happy. It's free, but it's also painful and aggravated. It's sort of like watching someone step outside of their own skin for the first time. At moments, it even feels like an exorcism. But to understand why it hits the way it does, you need to feel the world it erupts from. Beau Travail is about a soldier who cannot survive the rhythm of his own desire. Denis builds that rhythm slowly, through bodies, drills, music, heat, until it finally breaks open as pure movement. The Legion in Beau Travail has nothing to fight. The men iron, they swim, drill. Dust lifts, shirts flash, spines unfurl in the sun. It looks like soldiering, but reads like dance. And that's because Denis hired dancer, choreographer Bernardo Montet to shape their training into ritual. So it makes sense. Agnès Godard's camera makes the land feel lunar and bottomless. Sea, salt flats, black rock. The world pares itself down to elements so stark that the slightest touch between men suddenly matters. Every cut between shot moves like breath, not punctuation. And watching it, I remember feeling this low, constant tension in my body, like the film was teaching me to read physicality before I could interpret the emotion. I don't think I necessarily consciously processed any of this at the time, but I did feel unsettled, and I wasn't sure why. Denis Lavant plays Galoup, the overseer, a man whose body seems carved out of discipline itself. Commandant Forestier is the distant sun that Galoup orbits. And then Saint-Anne arrives, soft-spoken, graceful. He moves through the group with an ease that Galoup can't really understand, or tolerate for that matter. Everything Galoup has spent years locking down quietly starts to warp. Although his jealousy isn't loud, Denis never allows him to erupt in that way. Instead, it leaks out in tiny fractures. A correction delivered too sharply, a smile held a moment too long, the way his body tenses around Saint-Anne's softness. And I found this strangely familiar. That feeling of watching someone who moves easily through the world and life, while you just kind of feel stuck inside yourself. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who relates to that. That strange cocktail of envy, admiration, and shame. So when Galoup sabotages Saint-Anne's compass and leaves him stranded in the salt flats, Denis doesn't frame him as a villain. She just about holds the shot long enough for the air to thin. The court-martial follows. His life collapses into quiet Marseille rooms. He still makes his bed like he would in the military, and he then lies on it with his pistol by his side. The heart stalls. Then, bass. Corona's The Rhythm of the Night hits. On paper, it's kind of cheesy 90s Eurodance, but if you think about it in the context of the film, it's like a tear in the skin. It's a rupture. Denis said the dance once sat earlier in the story, before the gun, but in the edit she moved it to the very end to give the sense that Galoup could escape himself. So it's there by instinct, not necessarily logic. And Levon performed it in just 2 takes, with one direction. The dance between life and death. What happens in that minute completes the entire film's grammar. For the whole runtime, Denis has been training us to read bodies like sentences, marches, hugs, drills, the careful ironing of a collar, each one just a clause in an essay about control. This final movement throws all that grammar away. He invents a language on the fly, and you as the viewer understand every word. People might ask, is it really happening? But I guess Denis keeps it open, and that ambiguity is kind of the point. Maybe this is the moment before he pulls the trigger, maybe it's the moment after he decides not to. Maybe it's the fantasy his body creates on the edge of collapse. And when I watch it, I realised I didn't really want the answer. The truth is deeper than the outcome. The drills taught us to feel choreography in a military gesture. Britain's choral heave made labour sound like longing. Godard's camera made skin, salt, cloth, sweat feel like memory. The dance fuses all of it. Labour becomes pleasure, longing becomes motion, discipline becomes abandon. Beau Travail is about foreignness. Men foreign to the land, to each other, and most painfully, to themselves. Ending the film in a nightclub is almost a joke. Nightclubs are a place bodies go to become strangers to nothing. For a legionnaire who was trained to erase the self, to move freely with no command or purpose, is a revolution. Alex Ross writes that Levant's solo plays like the fantasy of an uncloseted life, a body finally allowed to exist in public. And the mirrors don't multiply shame, they multiply possibility. Of course, you can read the scene in a dozen ways. As narcissism, Galoup falling in love with himself too late. As camp, a serious art film ending with a club banger. As ritual, a soldier dancing the soldier out of himself. They can all be true at the same time. Movement invites interpretation the way that words just can't. Most endings try to tidy up a story or punish a character. This one dignifies an inner life. It takes a man shaped by hierarchy, repression, colonial power, a man who has done harm, and gives him one ungoverned minute. Not forgiveness, not absolution, just 1 minute that belongs only to him. And that's why the cut to black feels like a heartbeat you suddenly notice. If you measure a film by the honesty of its final breath, then yes, this might be the greatest ending cinema has ever had. Thanks for watching. And a special thanks to all the Patreons and channel members. If you do want to support the channel, please consider liking and subscribing. Leave a comment if you have any thoughts about this film, or go and watch it if you haven't seen it. And yeah, thanks for supporting the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.